What's up? Welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns. We're back in the theater in California. Tomorrow, we're going to be filming Beers and Breakdowns today, and then tomorrow we'll head to Vegas.
Boom. Vegas, baby.
Shot show action. A little Vegas action. That's going to be a trip. People keep asking if we're going to be there, and we're just going. We're just going because, first of all, we have a lot of our team that we do business with that's going to be there, and we want to meet them. A lot of the manufacturers that we do business with are going to be there, so we're going to meet them for the first time. But really, we're just going to go enjoy SHOT Show.
Yeah, just to hang out.
Just to hang out, have some drinks, and enjoy the trip. And then it became this whole like, oh, you guys are going to be there? Well, we need to link up with us and link up with us. And now it's like a full agenda of people. There's literally like at least 10 spots that we have to hit because we do business and we need to make that connection.
There's not enough time.
There's not enough
to do
time.
Everything we need. So
yeah, so we were going just to have fun, and now it's turned into a legit business trip.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this about us, but we try to have fun as much as we can. That's our primary goal. Anytime we do anything is to have fun. I know some people are like, "Why do you guys do so much Beers and Breakdowns?" It's fun.
It's fun to do.
It's fun to
Watch
do.
Movies and drink
Outside
beer.
of this, we're developing products. We're running the FNG Academy online store. Kurt runs the store. We got the mentorship program happening. We're mentoring and guiding candidates all day, all the time, every day. We have a lot going on. We're coming up with a fitness program. We're doing so much on the backside that Beers and Breakdowns is a chance for us to just have fun, let loose, have some drinks, and talk about movies.
What we would be doing normally.
Yeah, except the camera's rolling.
So
because it's a good time. So this episode, we're getting into Generation Kill. Oh, that's right. We're not supposed to cuss anymore. Did I cuss a lot?
Not too much.
Not too much?
I don't know.
I'll try not to cuss as much.
So you should probably put, because a lot of people are getting upset about that, about Abel, censoring the cussing. So for those who don't know, YouTube recently made a new change in their guidelines and policies where if there is an undisclosed amount of curse words,
they're gonna demonetize.
That you get demonetized, and therefore there's no ads on your videos, and it restricts your channel, and the algorithm goes completely against it, right?
Yeah.
So they don't put out what that limit is. You don't know how many curse words or what curse words it is. So that's why a lot of the Beers and Breakdowns lately that you've seen have been censored because we have to. I know a lot of people got up in arms that we're censoring ourselves, and that's not the case at all. We're forced to right now until the algorithm changes, which it always changes, and the rules and guidelines change. But until that happens,
we got to make money.
We got to do it. Yeah.
We got to make money because at the end of the day, you guys think that we're pocketing all this money. Trust me, everything is spent. Every single penny is spent from the mentor program, from the store, from the YouTube. We're all in developing products. I mean, just the boots alone is an astronomical expense.
We could live inside of those boots.
Those boots have to be the best boots on the planet because literally the boots are a house in some parts of the country.
For sure.
So just so you guys know, if you're part of the Tier 3 program and you support the channel, if you support the channel anyway by buying products, any of that stuff, just know that your money is going directly back into helping candidates get selected through developing products like the Ruck Trainer. We have the Ruck Safety Kit. We have the Foot Care Kit. We have a new kidney pad that we're developing so you can stop the chafing.
Anti-ruck rash pad.
Yeah, because that ruck rash in SUT was the worst, dude. I had huge sores on my sides.
Yep, me too. Everybody did.
Yeah.
You go to the showers and everybody's got scabs and raw skin on the back of their like love handle area, right in the back, the lower back. Oh my God.
I mean, you got to think those kidney pads are Cordura. They're either 500 or 1,000 weight Cordura. I'm pretty sure it's all 500 just for the sake of trying to be a little softer. Ours for the Ruck Trainer are 500 because we want to be a little softer to avoid the chafing. But it's not. It's meant to last. It's not meant to be comfortable.
It's like sandpaper.
Yeah, it feels like sandpaper. So it just destroys your sides. So we wanted to help out. So we developed a product, or we're in the process of developing it. Just got finished the first prototype. We got to test it. But it's a memory foam that's going to go over the kidney pad. So everyone in the Army could purchase this. It's not just for SF. Anyone who's issued a Molly 2 Ruck could purchase this. And you could just strap it on to the kidney pad. You don't have to modify it. You don't have to take your kidney pad apart. You don't have to cut it or anything like that so you don't ruin your TA50 for turn-in. And it's memory foam, so it'll conform to your waist instead of having all that friction and rubbing you raw, which is a nightmare. So just so you guys know what we're spending all our money on, because we get a lot of accusations of just basically rolling around balling, being a bunch of rich guys driving around in Ferraris apparently. But all right, let's jump into Generation Kill. This is my first time seeing the show. We're going to do episode 2 because episode 1 was kind of slow. It was just kind of a builder. So we start to get into more of the war and see a little more action with episode 2.
Yep.
So we'll break it down per episode, and if you guys don't like that and you would rather just talk about the whole thing, then we'll just from episode 3 to 7 will be another Beers and Breakdowns.
So this is something that has come very, very highly recommended, and I've always been on board with this one. You know, for me, this show was kind of pivotal to me joining the military, actually. When this came out, I was about to graduate college, and it just like the time of my life when this came out, it like really struck me, and you get to see a lot of the brotherhood and camaraderie and a lot of the trials and tribulations that they go through, and it just like resonated with me. And so this show is probably a majority of the reason I joined the military.
That's bad.
Without a doubt.
I've only watched episode two so far, and it's super accurate.
All right, so if you haven't seen this, so Generation Kill is a series that's based off of a book. So there was this unit of recon Marines in the initial push into Iraq, and they had a Rolling Stone reporter that was embedded with them. And so he's featured in the show. It's not actually him. He's being portrayed by somebody else, by an actor. But he's featured in the show. He wrote a book about it, and the book is what the show is based off of. So you've got a couple people in here that are actual Marines. So Rudy Reyes, he's playing himself in here, and there's 2 or 3 other people, I can't remember who they are, that are actual Marines from the unit also in the show. But majority of the people here are actors. But it's an awesome series, so if you haven't watched it, make sure you go and watch this series on HBO.
Never know when you might need an AK. That's why you're in charge, sir. I don't know. I'm American, man. Yeah, I got it. I think I believe the judge when he told me the Marine Corps was a superior alternative to jail. I should have shut up and done my time.
The commander finds an AK and then picks it up and then keeps it.
Yeah.
All right, so there was one thing that my Air Force grandfather told me before going to war.
What's that?
There was one piece of advice that he gave me, and it was only one.
Okay.
And I'll never forget being in his den. He always had a den. And my grandfather's den, because he was the best. He was like a godfather, but he always had a den, and that's where his John Wayne posters, his pictures were. He had this like spittoon with John Wayne on it. He had his electric chair. As you know, time got harder for him to get it out. He has his electric chair and his TV. John Wayne everywhere. So he told me, he said, hey, my boy, he goes, when you're going to war, if it's not yours, don't touch it. And I was like, oh, it's interesting advice, Grandpa. Like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, they booby trap their stuff. He's like, Americans got a bad habit of touching it that's not theirs.
True, yeah.
And he's like, so if it's not yours, don't touch it. And I was like, all right. And then I get to small unit tactics, and the 10th Mountain guy was our instructor. 10th Mountain saw way more combat in 10th Mountain, made sure that we knew it every day. Before he went Special Forces.
Oh, yeah.
And then, remember that guy?
Yep.
And he was like, there was a flag, and one of his guys went to grab the flag, and it was booby trapped, and he watched his body just shoot up in the air after the explosion, and then his body parts fall on the ground. And he was like, never touch it, it's not yours. Yep. They booby trapped their stuff. So I just saw him taking this AK, and you may think, well, what's the big deal? Obviously, it's not booby trapped, he picked it up. But think about it. There's plenty of ways to booby trap a rifle that's not setting explosives. We have booby trapped ammunition that welds to the inside of a rifle. That way, when next time an enemy goes to fire it, it explodes. So you don't know if that has already had. The reason that it got left behind was because they shot off a booby trapped ammunition. It didn't fire, welded, and then the next round would have exploded. Or if they booby-trapped it themselves by doing something similar, maybe they put a weld in the barrel or something like that. So, or maybe they booby-trapped the trigger, so when you pulled the trigger, it exploded. Yeah,
you're thinking you're getting a nice war trophy.
Right.
Next thing you know,
your face is getting blown off.
You know what's wild is in the 18 Charlie course, we had a homemade explosives portion, and for this certain assignment, we all had to create our own explosive. Basically, we had full carte blanche. We could do whatever we wanted to do, and so a lot of guys made some sort of booby trap, which you can't use as a U.S. military. You can't use in the war or in actual combat because Geneva Conventions. But
it's good to know what you would do because
exactly.
then that's what they could do.
So what I remember is one of our guys, we'll talk about his name later, but what he did is he took an AK-47 mag and he made it so it was a contact initiated charge. So he had a little bit of C4 in the bottom of the mag. Oof. And so as you're loading rounds, that bottom spring is getting shorter and shorter, and as soon as it contacted, say you got to like 10 rounds, it would contact, and then that would set off the charge. So it's like, it's so simple to think that, you could easily do something like that and just drop it. Yeah. And somebody comes behind you and they're thinking they got a free mag. Yeah. Start loading it up, bam, pops, and all of a sudden you lose your hand.
There it is. That's Boom. Insane. I never would have thought of to booby trap a magazine.
This other, he put it on the bottom of a toilet seat, so when you sat down to take a the toilet would have blown up.
Could you imagine in Afghanistan, they used to in a hole and you got a toilet, they're like, oh.
It's perfectly clean and pristine. You're like, oh, I scored
like, I'm gonna get on this tonight.
Boom.
It's like Cadillac. Bro, and that's so you don't touch other people in war.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows you're going to want war trophies. All the enemies know that Americans can't stop kicking and stealing. We want to have war trophies, and if we're bored, we want to kick it.
Yep.
And so they booby trap at everything. So if it's not yours, don't touch it.
Leave it alone.
God rest his soul. My grandpa's passed away now, but that was the one piece of advice he gave me, and I stuck with it. No matter how bad I saw it or any of that, I was like, nope, not touching it.
Right.
I'm not taking war trophies.
Good
I don't
advice.
want that. I'm not
awesome
touching
advice.
It. Yeah. So when I saw him do this, I was waiting for him to at some point be like, oh yeah, and then go to shoot it, and they goes,
yeah.
What's a pogue? Persons other than grunts, rear echelon guys.
All Hitman 2 Victor, be advised, we are now departing friendly lines. GL's ensure that all weapons are...
He just laughed.
He's like, all right.
All right. So I just thought it was funny because they broke down the whole pogue thing.
Right.
So if you guys never heard that before, pogue is person other than grunt. And if you are signing up for the military, this was my mistake. I made this mistake. You were a pogue too, but
I was a pogue.
You got away with it because there's a lot of, if you're not in the military.
There's different levels of pogues.
If you're not in the military and you want to go in the military, this is a very important conversation we're about to have here.
Yes.
There is a culture within the military that you don't know you're signing up for until you get in and it's too late.
It's like a class system that you would see in like other countries, right? There's different echelons it's a hierarchy, essentially.
Yes, there's 100% a hierarchy, and within pogues there's a hierarchy, and then within the combat there's a hierarchy, and then special operations there's a hierarchy, so it's just all the way.
Even within special operations there's hierarchies. Yeah.
So the hierarchies just keep going up, and trust me, if you're like that typical, wrestler, athletic type, you've always been kind of an alpha, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. It's just your personality. If you're always that go-getter, you don't want to find yourself at the bottom of that echelon because you're going to find yourself around people that aren't like you, the ones that just want to collect a paycheck. And there's no fault to them. They're still serving. But there's people that just want to collect a paycheck. They just want to pay off school. They're not really interested in combat arms or being in that kind of position or being the, super, prestigious within the military structure.
Right. Yep.
But if you find yourself as one of the ones that wants to be prestigious down here, get ready to have your feelings hurt all the time.
Oh, I felt it.
Oh, I was a cook, bro.
I know.
I got daily, son.
I know you felt it.
Yeah, and so it sucks to be a pogue.
Yeah. So
if you want to be in the higher echelons.
Right. Even for me, so I wanted to go in and I wanted to join and like do the most. I wanted to deploy, I wanted to fight, and so I wanted to be infantry. And then I was like, well, I tried to appease other people, make my family happy and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I'll go in as a medic. That way I'll at least work with the infantry. I'll have a skill when I get out, but I'll still be kind of infantry. And it's even that it's not the case because you're always, our basic training, I went to Fort Sill instead of Fort Benning. And everybody's talking about like you're a soft skill MOS. That soft skill MOS, like that term always rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, they're calling you a
Right.
You're called to.
Like I didn't. It's not what I wanted. I wanted
Yeah.
to be more, and so like my whole time as a medic, I always was looking at the infantry guys, and I was like, I want that cord.
Yeah.
I want to be infantry, and then so for me, it took a toll, and I was like, I should have gone in as infantry. So when I talk to people in the mentorship program, I try to find out what they're interested in and kind of what they're about, and I always recommend like, hey, if there's something that you want to do,
Do it.
do that.
You
Don't
have to
do
do
it. You're doing it for you. Don't do it for other people. And because I know the mental toll that took on me, so I try to steer other people from making that same mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to be a ranger. I thought rangers were high speed, and I thought that whatever the recruiter is going to give me, that's all I can get. So when I walked in, he said, "We got you a ranger contract." I was done. I was sold. And he said, "Caveat: the only ranger contract I can get you is a cook." And I was like, I don't get it. And that's the part we want you to understand in the mentor program for people who want new contracts is I honestly wasn't trying to weigh the two. I didn't understand. I didn't know what it meant that you could make me a ranger, but then make me a cook at the same time. And I was like, what does that mean?
You thought you'd be like an infantry guy that cooks like 1 or 2 nights a week or something?
Well, in my opinion, I thought that was just a way to get me in.
Yeah.
And then once I got in, I told them that I wanted to be infantry. They'd be like, "Oh, you're in the wrong side."
Yeah.
I thought that
The
once
old
you're
rope-a-dope.
yeah, I thought
The
that once you're
switcheroo.
in, they would be like, "Oh, you're one of us now. Oh, you want to be an infantry? Dude, go over there."
Yeah.
That I honestly thought it because I even asked my recruiter. I said, "How long will I have to cook for?" And he goes, "Dude, by the time you go into training and then get to battalion, 6 months tops." This was a literal conversation that we had, and I said I could do anything for 6 months.
Oof.
It literally got me. Literally, little did I know that the soft skill MOSs are so in demand for Rangers because obviously when you go Ranger, you don't think soft skill, you think infantry. That there's no way they would have let me out of that contract, and it was a 5-year contract.
Oof.
So I was myself. And part of the reason we have the mentor program is so you guys don't get in and start feeling all this regret.
Right.
Because trust me, you will not. There's no worse feeling than that regret because it takes so long. It's like trying to get a congressman online to try and change your MOS. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Dude,
you have to go in the right contract the first time. You have to.
I remember, so on you remember, I don't know if they still do it, was it ATARS, the online like portal?
Yeah.
You could go on and you could volunteer for airborne, you could volunteer for, I think, like Ranger, all these different things you could volunteer for. I was volunteering for all of them. Once I got to my unit, I was like, I don't want to do this. Volunteered for all of them. Little did I know that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like if they're going to randomly assign you, which probably never happens, then it might work. But for me, it was like, I was stuck. And I would be stuck there for the next 4 years.
I was so hard up too. I went and found the in need list, and there was a diver, and I was like diving, welding, or a diver, and I was like, I don't care. I'd rather do that anything than this. And so I went and started to get into that, and I was finding so much hardship doing that. And they were like, we can't stop you because it's an in need MOS.
Yeah.
But we're also an in need MOS, and I was like, and that's when I backdoored my way into being the personal security for the commander. But it's a fight. That's why we try to tell you guys, you got to get the right thing the first time.
How's it going? They shot one of my Marines in the stomach out there. We returned fire, blew a donkey's head off. He didn't see much else.
All right, first of all, that actor nailed this.
Did
He did such a good job. But second, this to me is what Special Forces training is all about. Weeding out this. Not to knock this guy. I'm sure this has happened a lot, but it's vapor lock. So when you get a certain amount of stress with anything, and this is what you can come in is like the mountaineering. One of the scariest moments I've ever had in my entire life was being stuck on the side of, Flatirons in Boulder. I was so terrified. I hate heights. I'm afraid of heights. I hate them. and I've agreed for some reason to go rock climbing with my team sergeant. I was like, I'll be tied in. It won't be that bad. And now I'm stuck on the side of the mountain, and he's trying to tell me that all I have to do is grab this next spot, but there's nothing there. Like, I have no training. I don't know how to fucking rock climb, you know?
Yeah.
And he's telling me to grab this thing. I'm like, there's no handle. And I'm supposed to grab that. And it's like, yeah, I'm tied in, but I still got to fall 10 feet and slam into a rock before.
Scary.
It's terrifying, dude. So what I think special operations training is for and why it's so long and rigorous is to avoid vapor lock in those high stress situations.
Getting like this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, just being completely out of his mind.
This guy's, it's not that he couldn't handle the situation, because clearly he got through the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It was after the fact that his brain couldn't compute what he had just experienced, the high stress. He couldn't process that stress.
He's like looking around for something that's not there.
Yeah, he's
like
just
searching.
He just tapped out.
Yep.
And now he's just in you know, auto mode, just walking around like his brain is trying to figure out what to do with itself.
Yeah, like his brain is like rebooting or something at the time.
Yeah, so to me, that's what special operations does, is it tries to be as long and as rigorous as possible, so that way you could, you know, rule out the people that once the stress hits a certain amount of point through cold, through survival training, the stress of that, through long miles of rucking, what does your brain do? Does it continue? Does it say, okay, this is how I finish the mission so I can finish this? Or does it say, I'm way overstressed and then I'm just going to take off into left field?
Yeah.
I've seen Rangers in Ranger selection to where the cadre went up to him and they're like, you're done. And they were like, no. And the guy was like, no. And he's like, dude, leave. It's like, you may be tough, but you're an autopilot. You're not thinking anymore. You're not the type of person we're looking for.
Right.
You have to be able to think through. And some people are just not hardwired for it.
Yeah, that's weird. That's crazy to see too. You know, one thing I just remembered looking at, so the actor's name is Alexander Skarsgård. He's been in a ton of HBO stuff, but he plays Sergeant Colbert, or Colbert, yeah, Colbert, or whatever. He was actually the Marine attaché, or the airborne commandant, something high up at the airborne school when I went to airborne school. And I remember one time we were doing the tower and he walked up and like, it was like
this guy right here?
Yeah, like the actual guy, not the actor.
Oh, okay.
But he walks up and I remember seeing the face and I was like, he looks familiar. And I looked down at his name tape and I saw Colbert on it. And he was like wearing a Marine Corps uniform. I was like, holy crap. Like that's like one of my heroes. Like first time I saw a movie star. It was so crazy, man. So
that's
watching
cool.
this is like seeing him for the first time. Like, oh, I remember this guy.
Dude, airborne school was wild, man. Those guys were nuts. Their teaching method was bananas, dude.
Airborne was weird. So you see all these old videos and I'm thinking airborne school is going to be like so difficult and so wild and crazy. And it really wasn't. Like, it was one of those things where you just kind of just did it. It wasn't that physically demanding. The cadre were cool, especially
the cadre were funny, dude.
So airborne school, I noticed the difference.
Best cadences ever, too.
Yeah, the best cadences. So as far as cadences, when I went to AIT, it was on a joint base. We were on an Air Force base. So I remember one time we got in trouble because we were calling cadence through one of the barracks, or one of the neighborhoods, and we were talking about like killing and something else.
Yeah.
And it came down through the chain of command. It's like no more cursing, no more talking about killing and cadences. Can't do any of it. Then you get to airborne school and it's like there's no rules.
Oh,
It was an army base.
He said, El Camino, El Camino. The front is like a car. The back is like a truck. The front is where you drive. The back is where you hey, El Camino, El Camino.
I used to love that one. That was awesome.
Dude, I loved it, bro. And you're just running by all the chicks, just screaming out, come here. And then as soon as the back is where you hey, you start yelling at all the civilians. And dude, airborne school is those cadre have just the right amount of like no F's to give.
Yep.
But then free fall school. You take those airborne cadre and you ramp that zombie up to 10.
Nice.
Bro, if you go to airborne, like if you go to jump the next day and you're not hungover, you're one of the wilds. And then if free fall is a 10, then Dylan Aero School is a level 20.
Jeez.
Bro, they used to come in the morning. He's like, listen, I know you guys could barely stay awake right now. And most of us were like, huh, huh. And he's like, we're going to get through this as fast as possible so I can get you back out because all of you guys need beers.
That's funny.
And then we would go to lunch and just take beers just to get like our shakes to stop because we were smashed, dude. Anyway, listen, if you're going to be an adult in the military, you're going to have to learn how to tailor it back on your own.
Yeah.
You got to be the guy that's willing to have fun. You don't have to drink, but you got to have fun if you want to enjoy this road.
Yeah.
But you also you have to know the line. If you cross the line, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Like your whole team is with you, but the minute you cross that line too far to where you're unruly, we can't pull you back. You start getting into fights, which we've all done, but then when your team says no, you're still just getting more blasted, more drunk. You're on your own, man. We can only pull you back so far. You cross the line too far, he's like, hey, all right, dude.
Once you go out there, like we had a guy in mountain school and he just one day just went too far. He would never drink with us, never come out. And one day he decided to come out, and in the morning, everybody's like, where's he at? Nobody knew where he was. And next thing you know, they're getting a call. He's in the drunk tank. And they went and picked him up. And once the story started coming out, it's like, I thought you guys were with him. It's like, we were with him. And then we turned around, and he was gone. Like, he took it on his own and disappeared. And he got into some wild stuff that night. And he's lucky that they only put him in the drunk tank for the night. And it's like one of those things where you just have to not cross that line.
No.
You got to know, like, how to control yourself.
Yes. Funny story. So I'm a Denver cop. This is after Special Forces. I'm a Denver cop. Tom calls me because they're in some training in Denver, and his whole team's in Denver in training. And he calls me, and he's wasted. And he goes, hey, bro, where's the drunk tank at? And I was like, oh, I wasn't working, though. I think I was at home. And I was like, why? Are you there? I was like, I'll come get you. No, I'm not there. I just need to know where it is. And I was like, why? Tell me what happened. He goes, one of our guys got picked up. We got to go get him. And I was like, Tom, no. That's not how it works. You don't just go get him. I was like, he was arrested, my guy.
Doing extraction?
Yeah, him and his SF team were trying to do an extraction of their buddy in the drunk tank. Tom called me with this. And I could tell when Tom's like half in and half out, he was all in. So he's like, I'm not going to go, dude. Okay, we just need to know where it is. I was like, Tom. And I'm like, he woke me up out of my sleep, and I'm trying. I was like, Tom, please. This is all that's going to happen. They're going to hold him in the drunk tank until he could blow a certain percentage of his alcohol content, and then they'll let him go. He'll get a fine, or he'll have to pay the cost of the drunk tank. As long as he didn't get any citations from what he did drunk, he's fine. Just pick him up in the morning. I was like, I'll tell you where it is so you can go get him in the morning, but do not go there. And he's like, fine, we're not going there. Just tell me where it is. And I was like, gosh, damn it. He went there, and they almost got arrested. Tom and his teammates, I don't know how many of them, Tom, you have to correct me. Sorry if I'm using your name in this thing. But almost got arrested trying to do an extraction from the drunk tank. Like, bro, what are you thinking? Are you crazy? I was like, those are police officers that arrested him and put him in there.
No, we're Special Forces.
We're getting them, bro. That's one thing I want to talk about during the talking head is why Special Forces members think that we're so elite that we could do literally anything we want.
Yes.
Like narcotics, rings, like bringing back asinine amounts of cocaine from South America.
It's okay, we're above the law. It's like, no,
right.
you're on U.S. soil. You're not.
All right, like trying to coups in Venezuela. We got to bring up all those and talk about what SF guys got going on in their heads.
Yeah.
They could be coming from all sides. They could be coming from all sides.
Is our platoon commander okay?
We'll be all right if I turn my 50 to our 6 and let off a few rounds. You guys got that?
No, it's not. It's an AK.
Yeah, and it belongs to our...
Hitman 3, this is 3-2 interrogative. What are you engaging?
What's wrong with this guy, dude?
He's so wired.
Denying the enemy transportation.
So high strung.
You gonna shoot every vehicle you go by in all of Iraq?
These civilians gotta go to work and crap. Like,
Dude, this guy's bananas, bro. But one thing that civilians probably don't understand is how important comms traffic is. You only have so much traffic that can go through on the net. So you have to be strategic about what you say. This isn't a like walkie-talkies or something. This isn't like Call of Duty where everyone could talk and everyone could be heard. You only have one line. So if you're on it, that means someone else is not able to get on it.
Yep.
And if that other traffic is more important, you're screwing them.
That's why everything's short and concise.
Yes, got to get your point, get it done, and get it done quick. So every time this guy gets on and is like, blah, blah, blah,
They could be coming from all sides.
Yeah, first of all, you're spreading panic for no reason. You haven't taken contact. There's no reason to be that high strung. Second of all, you're taking up the airway. And then on top of that, just you're the leadership. You're supposed to be calm, cool, and collected. And then to shoot the vehicle to deny enemy transport, this guy's basically going cowboy and then blaming it on command and trying to pretend like he's just elite tactics.
Yeah.
But really, he just wants to do whatever he wants. He wants to steal AKs. He wants to shoot random things. He wants to panic when it's not time to panic. He wants to do whatever he wants, and he's blaming command for everything else. And he's trying to find a tactical reason to do it.
This dude is a complete loose cannon. And they portray him like this throughout the whole series. And I was reading an article where apparently the real guy was upset.
Well, I would
with
be
the way
too.
he
He's
was
an
portrayed.
idiot.
But the other guys came out and were like, this is accurate. So like,
There it
this
is.
is how he was.
Hey, if you don't know who he is in the room, it's probably you.
Right, yeah.
To engage.
Oh, look, he put his leg over him.
Range to target. Niner. 7. Niner.
Fire.
Beautiful shot.
Stand by for second target. Low crawling. East. 5 yards. You got him?
I tally.
Fire.
All right, so a couple things. So when we're in a patrol base and we're always looking out, pulling security out, we overstack our legs on top of each other. And the reason for that is so if a guy covering that sector gets up for any reason, let's say he's going to go back and do something, or he falls asleep, something, you have direct contact with him. So as soon as he moves or fails to move, you can feel it. And so that way you can keep your eyes on your sector. So I'm not exactly sure if for snipers, if that's why he's doing the overlapping with the leg, but I just know that in small unit tactics, that's how we're taught for the patrol base operations, is you buddy team and then you overlap each other's legs. So I'll put my leg on top of yours. First of all, it kept us warm because we're freezing our butts off. So first of all, it kept us warm because we're freezing our butts off. But second, if he decides to get up and leave, I'm not just left there with an uncovered sector.
Right, yeah, you know.
So I know if my buddy's moving or not. But another thing, tactically, I just didn't understand about this one is why stop to engage those two targets. We've done stuff like that to where we've kind of veered off, even worse, because we veered off mission to go or take out the targets, whatever sounds better.
Neutralize the
neutralize the threat. So we've veered off, but I don't think it's ever a good decision to stop or veer off to go take out a threat. I think if anything, I would be like, contact right. You've already been approved at this point to take out spotters even. So they don't even have to be armed. Your ROE was adjusted in this show earlier on. If you guys missed that, initially the rules of engagement was if they had a weapon system, even if it's slung, they don't have to be shooting at you. If they have a weapon system at all, ROE got adjusted to if you think they're spotters. So I'm just going to be honest with you. If I think that they had an RPG, I'm going to open fire on the move. I'm going to call up.
Instead of stopping.
I'm not going to stop. I'm going to have a 50 cal be like, hey, you got contact right, guy with a suspected RPG, take him out. Either A, take him out, or B, in the process of trying to take him out, you're not going to get shot with an RPG.
Right, so they just halted the entire thing. So now instead of a moving target, you're just one big sitting target.
Right. So if this guy got the shot off before he did, he could have launched that RPG, taken out a vehicle, killed some Marines. Now you have to do a vehicle pickup. You got to do was it the HVAC? Or
The medevac?
Medevac? I can't use my own terms anymore. You got to do a vehicle recovery. You got to do a medevac. You got to do all this stuff. For what? To kill that guy?
Yeah.
Just, you have 50 cals. Hit him on the move.
And I wonder how much of that had to do with this being so early on. Like, this was 2003.
Sure.
Like, we're figuring out how we're fighting this war. They're
sure.
figuring out how they're fighting the war. So, like, you're talking about it from 2015, 16,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
So that's 12 years of
We're used to this.
experience,
Yeah.
right? So it's crazy to think that we were in a war for so long that the war evolved so much. So like a lot of the tactics, even looking at the weapon systems and optics that they're using and the equipment they're using, that was like 3 or 4 generations ago at this point, as far as like the evolving of the stuff that we're using. So it's crazy to see like in the early days how it was, and then when we came into the picture in the later days, how everything had changed and evolved. It's wild.
And then, I mean, they're having to like tape all their optics.
Yeah. Like to think though, this war, like towards the end of it, you had kids that were fighting in the same war that their father or their parents fought in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's so wild that it went on for so long, but that's a long time. A lot of lessons learned, a lot of equipment changes and all that.
I was talking to Tom, and he was talking to somebody. I don't want to say, well, they're probably going to know if they watch this. Hopefully they don't watch this, but he was talking to a Green Beret, and the Green Beret said, and the Green Beret is in his 30s, and he said, man, I joined SF to get into war. This is... And Tom was like, Tom, who's been serving since he was 18, has said, this war's been going on for a long time. You're in your effing 30s, and you're going to talk about how you just wanted to get into war? That's not an excuse anymore, my guy. This war's been happening for 20-something years.
Yeah.
You had all the chance in the planet to sign up for war. Don't come at me with, I just wanted to get into war. Tom's over here like, bro, I've been doing this for a decade plus. He's been in the army. He's been getting after it 15
doing
years.
This since you were in middle school or
and you're going to talk about, I just wanted to get some war. It's like Tom's been people in infantry, then he's doing people in SF. Like, come on, man. Don't be ridiculous. You don't sign up years after a war's been going on when it's clearly dying down and being like, I just wanted to get in it. That reminds me of this private that's like, I didn't shoot anyone yet.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, shut up. If you haven't learned the fact that war is, and this is one of the scenes I talk about, is like after their gunfight, is combat is so amazing when you took no casualties.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's cloud 9. It's the best feeling on the planet.
We're the best
You shoot
force
back,
ever.
boom, boom, boom. You hit a couple people.
so
You're like,
awesome.
yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you lose somebody, and it's like, wait a minute, this is a nightmare.
Yeah,
This is the
real.
worst. This is the worst. That loss of that one Green Beret is not worth any of this. All right, so it goes from all quiet, driving through. They apparently had this huge gunfight with the platoon before, or the company before, and now they're seeing nothing, and then it's the fan. And it's like, that is so accurate. People don't realize how accurate that is. Like, the you know, this isn't their first rodeo. They know what they're doing. They know how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
They don't start making contact as soon as they see you. They're not stupid.
Right.
They let you get all the way in to a really uncomfortable situation.
Called a kill zone.
Yeah, let you get into that kill zone. I've been completely surrounded. My team's been in, near 360 gunfights, and we drove right in. Mm-hmm. We drove into this huge valley surrounded by mountains, closes, mountain. We drove right in. Nothing. We just see military-age males walking around, so no women or children. We start asking ourselves, this is really weird. Where are all the women and children? Interesting. There's a lot of military-age males, but everyone's walking around normal. This must be fine. Everything seems fine. I feel really weird about it, but something might be happening, but we don't know. And then all of a sudden, as soon as we're in and we're settled and everything's starting to feel comfortable, they even they'll let you, if they have the time, they'll let you have even a lull to where you're like, oh, maybe this is just an empty valley and we didn't get anything good. And then hits the fan, and it is bananas. And now you have to exfil, and that's the hardest part because then they hit you with everything they got.
Dude, on this scene in particular, though, how freaking exposed are these dudes? Like, half of these Humvees don't have doors.
Yeah,
there's
no
no
up armor.
roof.
Yeah.
There's no armor. Like, we talk about like what you learn throughout the course of the war. By the end of the war, these Humvees probably doubled in weight because you had so much armor on them.
When they
you
got
had
the
vehicles,
MATVs.
Exactly. We had vehicles like that towards the end where you had nobody outside. Like, everything was robotically controlled from the inside of the vehicle. But on here, it's like you got a dude in a turret with no armor. Nobody in the vehicle has armor. And you've got a 360-degree ambush at that point.
Yeah. Yeah,
Crazy.
I mean, we've been shot at, and I remember the captain getting out of the MATV and being like, "Damn it!" And we're like, "What?" He's like, "They shot my backpack, and it had all my." They had, what are those the protein shakes that they used to give us on deployment? They had them downrange. There's the Myoplex. We used to get free Myoplexes like left and right, and he had this Myoplex in his backpack that he wanted to drink whenever he got there, and he was like, "Damn it, they shot my backpack," and his Myoplex was leaking down his backpack all down the side of the road, and the side of the MATV was just full of holes, or full of gunshots, but you're totally safe in it.
Yeah.
It provided this huge sense of security, but then it also made it, you felt more vulnerable when you got out. So it had its pros and cons.
Right, yeah.
You're so protected when that door shuts that when you get out of the vehicle, you have to shake off that protection.
You almost don't want to open that door.
You don't want to open the door, and you have to shake off that like level of security and go, okay, this is on me to use tactics to get my sense of security back.
I could see how you could almost become complacent,
Yes,
or
100%.
Yeah, you like lose that edge.
You do 100% lose your edge sitting in a MATV, and it almost, if you're not careful, when you get out of the MATV, you have to switch your mindset to tactics. But if you don't do it fast enough, you could just get scared.
Yeah.
And if the fear overwhelms you because you just realize that you went from getting shot at in armor to getting shot at with no armor,
just hearing that bing, 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 like, I'm good.
Zing, zap, wah, ping, you could just go, him in there, and like want to crawl back in and not get out, you know? So you have to, as best you can, as quickly as you can, transition from, okay, I'm protected, to, okay, I have to use proper tactics, movement, drills, coordination, communication to replace that sense of security.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll never forget like stepping through doorways in Afghanistan, so scared. Just being like, I never know when they're booby trapped. We only have 2 EOD guys max, one that I trust, Travi, and Travi can't be with us everywhere. So you're just like tiptoeing through doorways like, oh God, I hope this isn't it. Like, I don't want to. At least you get in a gunfight, you know? Like, but just blowing up like something they left.
At least you had a chance.
All right, guys, so there it is, episode 2 of Generation Kill. You guys have been asking for this one for a long time. Great show. Let us know what you want us to do. Do you want us to keep breaking down each episode one by one, or if you'd rather just watch the whole thing and give one solid review overall on Generation Kill? But so far, all the way thumbs up. Huge stamp of approval. Love it. Great show. And if we're going to give it, so we're going to do AKs, and Abel's going to have to actually overlay the AKs in at this time, Abel. I know last time we talked about it, you didn't put the AKs in. So, we'll do out of 10 AKs, how many AKs do you give Generation Kill?
Oh, Generation Kill for me is a solid 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 AKs?
10 out of 10 AKs.
I give it doesn't have as much nostalgia for me, and I think I've come to it so late in the game. I'm going to still give it, I'll say 8 out of 10 AKs.
That's solid.
That's solid.
That's
super solid. And the only reason I do that, I'm hesitant to give out a full 10 out of 10, is because I want to save those 10 out of 10s for those true bangers, in my opinion.
Which for me, like you said, nostalgia.
Yeah.
This is it for me. This show is like, the reason I joined, like I said. So.
And on that note, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace, fellas.